Welcome back. The Biden administration made some massive investments in clean energy over the last 4 years, but with a change in leadership comes a change in focus when it comes to climate and environmental efforts. So let's talk about it with conservative energy and political strategist Christopher Johnson up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Welcome back. Good to see you again.
Always great to be here.
All right, before we get to anything here, so obviously a lot of news broke over the weekend, and I just want to get your take on something, and we'll show it here on the monitor here. Let's play it and just get your take on it as we play it.
We're doing this?
Yes, Chris is an Ohio State fan, if you didn't know that. And
Yeah, proud alum of this great university that did not live up to their potential, to say the least, this weekend.
There are very few guests that I can do that for, and when I booked him, I said, I got to find some way to work it in. All right.
I should have seen it coming.
So let's talk about, I haven't seen you since the election. We now have a change in leadership, a change in what's happening here in D.C. Congress is in a Republican control. The White House, obviously controlled by President-elect Trump. You know, in terms of environmental efforts, something that you have been very passionate about, what do we see as a change in focus for this new administration? What's going to change? What's going to stay the same?
Well, I think it's going to look a lot like how J.D. Vance articulated the climate question during the debate with Tim Walz, where you're seeing this emphasis on prioritizing America's interests, which happens to prioritize the climate, because America does things cleaner and better than anybody else. We definitely do it better than our geopolitical competitors with China and Russia. And so the more that we're building stuff here, the more that we're going to be reducing emissions by proxy. And we're also going to see opportunities for new technologies that only we can really develop, because we have those cutting edge scientists and DOE labs and all the kind of cool things that a lot of other countries don't have. And so that kind of like America first, you know, if you want to put the climate first, you need to put America first. That's how we're going to be addressing this. And it may not make progressives happy. They may not be excited about it, because we're not saying this is a climate thing or an environmental thing, but emissions will go down. We're going to see prices drop as well, and we're going to see American jobs come home.
So that's obviously first and foremost one of the most important things. If you can find a way to make that work for the American worker, obviously that is a big win. People are going to go back to what Donald Trump said previously when it comes to things like climate change being a hoax. You know, but people have changed stances on that. I think some surprising names over time have sort of realized that, yeah, there is something there. There is some urgency to address how we deal with the environment.
Well, and I think it's largely due to when you asked Republicans 10 years ago about do you believe in climate change or whatever, it was like asking them during a timeshare, like, do you love your timeshare sale? Do you love your wife, right? Because the answer is yes. And if you say yes, then they're like, you would buy her a timeshare, right? Yeah. And so the question was always under the assumption of, if you believe in climate change, then you support the Green New Deal or whatever. That has changed. We have seen a ton of work done in the Conservative Climate Caucus in the House. Senator-elect John Curtis, who's now, you know, won an election as a climate Republican in Utah, Ruby Red, Utah. That has changed how we talk about this, because there is this list of conservative solutions of nuclear and carbon capture and tax incentives and carbon tariffs and all these kind of things that everybody on the right can get behind. And the science is largely in the background of this conversation now.
Why has it worked? Well, maybe it hasn't worked based on the election results, but Democrats have always said, well, look, you elect a Republican, you elect Trump, it's going to reverse changes made to clean water, clean air efforts, things like that. That seems to be the first two things that people believe will change immediately when President-elect Trump takes office, when Lee Zeldin takes over the EPA.
Well, and I think the Zeldin pick is exactly where I wanted to go with this. The GOP of yore would basically take the EPA and put an administrator there that was like a former oil or coal lobbyist or whatever, focused explicitly on a special interest in trying to get any regulations on anything gone, right? Zeldin is a guy who was on the Conservative Climate Caucus in the House. He was on the Climate Solutions Caucus in the House, which is a bipartisan caucus focused on this topic. And this is a sign of the new GOP, the GOP 2.0, the Trump 2.0, that is going to protect clean air and clean water. They are not going to be beholden to special interests. They are not going to go out and slash regs purely for slashing regs. They're going to actually realize this is a hugely popular issue to take care of the environment and make sure that people don't associate Republicans with dirty air and dirty water and pollution.
We were having a discussion earlier tonight, I'd like it or not, when it comes to electric vehicles. And this has been something that, you know, under the Inflation Reduction Act, there was this massive tax credit for people who would buy electric vehicles. You know, obviously Elon Musk he arguably, say what you will about him, has done more for electrifying America's vehicle fleet than anybody else out there. But when you look at where things stand, there seems to be this, people are saying, well, hey, what about Michigan? What about automakers? What about this idea that people don't want to convert to EVs? That's been a heavy lift for the Biden administration so far. These pushes to get people to get into EVs have not necessarily worked. So what does that say about moving forward? Is there a way to get the auto industry on board with maybe not necessarily electrifying everything, but finding ways to be better stewards of the environment?
Well, I think what you're going to see is Republicans believe in markets, not forcing people into decisions, markets, not mandates, right? That's always our shtick. And there's an opportunity here to do a lot of the things around electric vehicles really, really well and build infrastructure and build manufacturing facilities here in the United States. But the funny part about that is the people that are buying electric vehicles are disproportionately urban Democrats. That is the place where it is hardest to build charging stations, to build electrical infrastructure, to build manufacturing facilities. All of those are getting built in red America. Yeah. And so if we can find a way to get some permitting reform done, maybe in this lame duck, potentially in the next Congress, so that it makes it easier to build stuff everywhere, I think you can see markets respond to a need to electrify a lot of these vehicles and see people want to get an electric vehicle rather than being forced to or have to be forced through a tax credit or whatever.
Yeah. Christopher Johnson, good to see you, man.
Dude, great being here.
We appreciate it.
You're still mean.
We're back after this.
Awful.